name is Edwin Perez. Even though I'm a pastor, I'm actually learning to unlearn a few things. How many else feel the same as I do? I wanted to just talk for a few moments on our identity in Christ. And specifically that your identity in Christ can either be discoverable or disguisable. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But when we're talking about identity, I remember when I was younger, I tried to find identity in certain things. Being in New York City, I grew up basically without a father. My mother had passed away when I was young. So I wanted to identify with young men in a gang. So that's where I felt family, because I wanted to find identity in a certain people group. And unfortunately, that's what I got into, but we could talk about my testimony later on. Identity, when we're talking about it, it can be summed up in two general terms. When we talk about identity is a sense of self, which means your core or your role, or it can mean a sense of worth, that thing that makes you feel significant, right? If we have these things in society and culture, we normalize it to say that we have identity. We suffer from identity crisis. We're trying to fit our lives into other people's platforms sometimes. And seeking its own identity formation is something that we are trying to endeavor to learn to embark on. And it's a journey. We're in this self-discovery mode every single day, it seems, right? The problem is that our modern selves is considered to be incoherent. We're unstable. We present a fake persona with people and around us, so it's hard for us to understand our identity. When we're talking about being a Christian, though, the Christian selfhood, it's not identified along these terms that we think in culture, but it's identified according to the terms of God and our relationship that He creates with us and the destiny that He has appointed to us. So one question that I want to leave you with is, what type of ID are you carrying? I remember in my younger days, I used to go into certain places and present a fake ID just to get in, or buy something that at that age I wasn't supposed to buy, and I tried to get in. So what kind of IDs are you carrying? We have passports that get us to another destination, or if you want to purchase some kind of food goods, then we got the good old BJ's card. The question that I have is, what ID are you carrying? And in your ID, maybe have you falsified some information? Maybe you don't weigh that amount that you put on. For so many years, I've actually put that I was 6 foot. Comes to find out, my wife measured me not too long ago and said, "Babe, you're 5 feet 11 inches." One of the most heartbreaking moments of my life. Here's the point I want us to understand, is that God made us who we are so that we can make known who He is. And our identity is for the sake of making known His identity. And sometimes when we change this information, the reality is that misinformation becomes the catalyst for misrepresentation. When we miss the information, when we falsify it, it's really the catapult, it's really the catalyst for misinformation. So how do we discover our true identity in Christ? Our phones, whether you know it or not, there's a setting here that's called discovery mode. And when you turn that Bluetooth setting on in discovery mode, what that does is it tells other people around you that, hey, I can find your phone. I know your location. I know exactly where you are. You're discoverable now. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 21 to 22 says this, and it is God who establishes us with you in Christ and has anointed us, and who has put his seal on us and given us his Spirit in our hearts as a guarantee. He has established us, he has anointed us, and he has given us a Spirit in our hearts as a guarantee. You know, Christ is identified as fulfilling the cultural mandate as priest, prophet, and king. So over 400 years of prophecies that have foreshadowed the identity of Christ and this coming Messiah who was to come. All the signs were there, all the information was there, but they still didn't recognize him. They missed the information. In closing, I want us to understand that your identity in Christ is not to be disguisable. You are not created to just hide there behind the scenes, so to say. Your identity in Christ is to be discoverable so that others could know who he is. I like Matthew 5:14 to 16 says this, you're here to be a light. Bring out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept, but we're going public with this. So I want to just challenge you here today. Maybe this week, as you're watching this devotional, challenge yourself. Make yourself discoverable to somebody, maybe in your workplace, maybe an acquaintance, and maybe your neighbor. And make yourself discoverable. Make yourself open, whatever they need. And maybe they might see the Christ inside of you. Thank you for this time. It's amazing. I will see you later.